If I lost a hair for every single time I had a computer issue, well, that actually is exactly what's happening. Oh my gosh. Yep, welcome back to another episode of Catastrophic Computer Issues with AndrewChicken. It's happened again. My computer tried to jump off a cliff into a fiery caldera of doom and destruction. And this time it was actually an issue that I hadn't encountered before, at least not to the degree that it happened just now. Thankfully, doesn't seem to have anything to do with the new SSD that I purchased a couple months ago, if you guys remember that whole story, but it is still something that has to do with an existing piece of hardware that I already have, that I know is acting up, and it's still acting up, and it's just been a whole frustrating mess. So I have a habit of putting my computer to sleep. Not unreasonable in the slightest, plenty of people do that every single day, and last night I went to put my computer to sleep for the night so I could have a restful slumber without hearing my computer's fans and all that garbage. And I've had a strange issue where every now and then when I sleep my computer, it doesn't actually go to sleep. Instead, it performs a dirty shutdown where it basically hastily and improperly shuts down the computer. Usually, I reboot the computer and, well, everything is fine. It's working pretty okay. I run a DISM and then an SFC scan, and I repair any corruption if there is any, and I move on my merry day. But this time, something different happened. You see, it once again did a dirty shutdown, but when I tried to reboot the computer, well, it didn't boot. I got a BSOD, a blue, or rather, on Windows 11, a black screen of death. As soon as I tried to launch into the Windows environment, it automatically restarted and then put it into the automatic repair mode where it tried to search for solutions but was unable to repair the PC. Oh boy. That's not good. So I tried to just power off the computer, do a power cycle, boot it back up, and see if it would magically fix itself. It did not, and the exact same thing happened again. Now, luckily, at this point, for better or for worse, I've had to deal with a lot of computer issues in my time, so I've gotten a little bit familiar with what I can do to try and remedy situations like these. So what I did is I went deeper into the Windows recovery environment for the command prompt, where I tried to type in some different scans. Now, I tried the DISM scan, D-I-S-M scan thing, but unfortunately it just was not working for some strange reason. So, I tried to run an SFC scan as a last-ditch effort, and, well, wouldn't you know it, that actually worked. It repaired corrupted files, and I was able to boot into my computer. So, that's where the story ends, right? I wish it were that simple. No. You see, paranoid old me likes to double-check for corruption in a situation like this, and so I pulled up a command prompt and once again tried the DISM scan. But to no avail. It was not working. So, I called up my good friend Gemini, since it was like 3 in the morning, and was like, hey, I've got this problem, maybe you can help me. And I tried various things to fix the DISM scan, but none of it was actually working. It seemed like something within that whole command and just whole thing in the back end was like, just twisted and broken. So, what I ended up doing was I downloaded a Windows ISO file, which is basically something that you can use to either install Windows or repair an existing Windows installation, you know, stuff like that. And, well, I ran it on my computer. I had it basically replace every single Windows file on my PC while leaving my apps and my files intact. And, well, this took a while, but eventually it did work. I was able to boot into my Windows, and I was able to run the DISM scan and the SFC scan, and all of that worked perfectly. But, well, we're not out of the woods yet. Because, well, after that was done, I was like, okay, phew, we're done. Let me just check for some miscellaneous Windows updates just to make sure everything's fine. I downloaded some updates, I restarted my computer, and then the BSOD again. Not the same BSOD that happened that bricked my computer in the first place, but rather a BSOD that happened shortly after I was able to log in, while my computer was still getting everything set up and launching startup apps and stuff like that. It had something related to a kernel issue or a K dump issue. I forget the exact wording of it. But luckily, I was able to restart the computer, again, boot it into safe mode, and safe mode was working fine. After that, I rebooted the computer again, and I was able to get into my computer. It seemed like whatever it was temporarily at bay. Now, I had somewhat of a hunch here. My sneaking suspicion was that it had something to do with the drivers on my PC. I actually had run into issues before with Razer's drivers causing a similar issue, and so my first instinct was to try and reinstall stuff like my Razer Chroma and my Razer Cortex. I repaired all that, rebooted, and ran into the same issue again. And then I restarted my computer again, I was able to get back in, which is just, it's really strange how finicky that was. It was like on again, off again, BSOD. So the next thing I tried to do was reinstall my graphics drivers, and that actually did seem to hopefully have done the trick. I basically went into the NVIDIA app, had it do a fresh, clean installation, resetting my profile, the whole 9 yards. And this thing basically just uninstalled my graphics drivers, then I restarted my computer, installed the new graphics drivers, and it seemed like always good. So I restarted my computer one more time. And this issue happened again! And at this point, it was like 6 in the morning. I was really, really exhausted and anxious and just frustrated. So, I was just looking for anything to try and fix this. And it seemed like there was still likely just some sort of, like, old setting that wasn't quite, like, working properly with the fresh installation of Windows that I had just done. It seemed like the old apps and the old drivers were conflicting with the new Windows stuff. So, I asked Gemini, hey, what could I do here? And was like, hey, maybe you could try cleaning out your DirectX cache and clean out your temp files too and just do a full reset on all that. Maybe there's still some stuff in the cache. And so I did that and restarted, and yeah, it seemed okay. It seemed okay. So at this point I was like, all right, I need some sleep. If it's still going to do this in the morning, all right, I'll tackle it then. So I went to sleep, and it was a very bad night of sleep. I was so anxious. I actually still had a lot of adrenaline that was preventing me from going to sleep, because whenever I get computer issues like this, I get really, like, tense and anxious, because, you know, my computer is a very, very big part of my life. You know, it's how I make videos and streams, make money, and it's also how I spend my leisure time. I hang out with friends, I play video games, stuff like that. So when it goes down, it's, like, catastrophic. It's just not good. So, yeah, terrible night of sleep, but eventually I woke up, booted up my computer, and everything was seemingly pretty normal. Pretty normal. And, yeah, so I did a little bit of testing, you know, tried to launch a game. I was able to launch a game, play a bot match of Deadlock. I was able to run a few maps in Path of Exile 2, and then I decided, let's restart my computer. Started my computer, and it booted up just fine. So I'm hoping now, whatever driver conflict it was, is gone now. It seems like it's okay. I sure hope so anyways. I mean, I've been running my computer now for many, many hours today. I played a couple more matches of Deadlock, including the one you're seeing behind me, and I also played some more maps of Path of Exile 2, and all that worked fine, and I'm able to record this video too. So, I mean, at the very least, it seems like the hardware and stuff is working, but it seems like, man, I really screwed something up with the software of Windows and the drivers and stuff, and it just really, really devastated my computer and caused me a long night of suffering. Now you might be wondering, why the heck did this even happen in the first place? Well, I have my theory. So I have, as you guys know if you've been following these tech disasters, I have an Intel 13th gen CPU, which are infamously not the greatest. They had a reliability issue, and when I bought mine, I happened to just not know about it at the time. It was very just not well known. And yeah, I've been dealing with the repercussions of that CPU ever since. And my my botched remedy for fixing it is just to underclock my CPU. There are some more BIOS updates. I did run one BIOS update, but there are some like more recent BIOS updates that I could run. But I'm just really scared of the risk of that. Frankly, I don't want to have to deal with the headache of it. And the solution I found before any of those BIOS updates was just, hey, let's underclock my CPU. Let's take it from 5.5 gigahertz or whatever the unit is and move it down to 5, which is definitely a loss in power, but it has resulted in, my experience being incredibly stable. When it's just running with the default settings, programs tend to crash a lot, but with it underclocked, well, it works just fine. But when you put your computer to sleep, it goes into kind of a weird state, where it's, in kind of a low-power operating environment, because it's keeping a little bit of power in your RAM sticks to keep your sessions saved, and it's constantly, looking for inputs, right, from your computer, your keyboard, your mouse, right? So, my working hypothesis is just that this underclock was causing some issues sometimes when it would go to sleep, and it would basically, glitch out and then cause the dirty shutdown instead of sleeping. And what was especially bad with this sleep was the fact that I had just come from a very long Path of Exile 2 session, and if you know anything about that game, it's that it is a beast to run. My GPU gets real hot, my CPU's sweating, my whole computer is just, it is working to run that game. And so, everything in my case was still really hot, and I closed out the session of Path of Exile 2, and then less than a minute later tried to sleep my computer. And so my hypothesis is, it was the perfect storm of, okay, my hardware was still really hot, and it was trying to sleep and turn the fans off and all that, my CPU was just under a lot of stress, and then this underclock thing on top of that just resulted in some sort of Windows file getting corrupted. And, causing this whole issue where I had to run an SFC scan, and then certain other things were not working, and so I just had to run the Windows ISO to basically, replace a bunch of files on my computer and make sure that my Windows was working properly. And then, because the ISO replaced those Windows files, it caused a little bit of a desync, a little bit of, something strange, some conflicts with the drivers that I had that were preserved on my computer, because I told it to preserve all my absent settings. That's my working hypothesis for what exactly happened on my computer. Now, I'm still not 100% certain that my computer is fine. There is a good chance that I'm going to shut down my computer tonight, and then I'm going to boot it up tomorrow, and then it's going to give me this BSOD again. I don't know. I'm leaning towards it's probably not going to do that, because I've, booted it up a couple of times, and it hasn't done that to me. And once again, I was able to play a bunch of games and record this video just fine. But it still is something that just... it's got me stressed. My computer has just been such a cause of stress in my life, and that's really the worst thing to come from this, is just how much it stressed me out. It shouldn't stress me out this much, but for whatever reason, it just causes so much anxiety in me personally, to the point that I wasn't able to fall asleep quickly, I had a terrible night of sleep, and I completely lost my appetite, and my mouth just was so dry, and it was like an anxiety attack, quite frankly. Which, it's not good. Especially from someone who tries to keep their cortisol low, So, yeah, that was the worst thing, and I'm feeling a little better now, but the truth is there's just always this, this thing in the back of my mind of what if my computer randomly breaks again? Because it's just done this so many times. I don't think computers are supposed to have this many issues, but I think I just got really unlucky with the hardware that I chose to buy, and it's caused these issues for years now, right? We had that drive issue, where the drive that came on my computer was just a piece of crap, and we had this CPU issue, where the CPU just happened to be bad, and we didn't really know about it much at the time, and so... yeah, I got stuck with 2 lemons in my computer that have been causing me strife. Now, at the very least, the GPU in this thing, the RTX 4090, never caused me a problem. It's great. And same can be said for the RAM sticks that I installed. I got some custom RAM sticks. Well, not really custom, but I got some RAM sticks that weren't in the pre-built, and I shoved them in there, and those have been great. But, yeah, oof. That SSD and then the Intel CPU. Those two have caused me such a headache. And at this point, I will admit, there's a part of me that just is like, man, I kind of just want to get a new computer and just be done with this thing because of how much stress it's caused in my life. But at the same time, like, computers, especially of the specifications that I would want for my channel and whatnot, they're so expensive. They're so expensive. This one was not cheap, and computer prices have only gone up since I bought this thing back in 2023. And realistically, a lot of the stuff in here is still working. I got a brand new SSD, I got my GPU, and those are all working just fine. And so if anything, maybe it should just be an issue, or maybe it should just be a case of I replace my CPU. But, I did try that at one point. I tried downgrading to a more stable 12th gen. That did not work. I could try to get maybe a replacement 13th gen and update the BIOS and all that, but I don't want to deal with the same CPU. It's put a bad taste in my mouth. I don't know what other CPUs are compatible with this motherboard. I could research that, but then what if those come with their own set of issues? It just feels like no matter where I go, something's going to be a problem. And if I do straight up get a new computer, maybe I could definitely take the SSD and put it into that new computer and just use it as extra storage. That would not be a waste. I could also maybe even try to resell the used GPU. I don't know if that's a thing. I might have to look into that. But the GPU is still working fine. But then who knows if that new computer is going to come up with some new mystery problems that are going to shatter my peace, my zen in a couple of years' time. So yeah, man, this computer's just been frustrating me so much. I don't know, man, it's just been a nightmare, and I really needed to vent about it, so here we are in this video. Now, if you're a computer guy and you have thoughts on the situation, of course, let me know in the comments section down below, and shoot, if you want to engage in a deeper conversation about it, you can even join the Discord server, and I'd be happy to hear you out. But yeah, this has just been such a nightmare. Fingers crossed that it's okay from here on out, and I plan on just never sleeping my computer again. I'm going to boot it up at the start of the day, leave it on, and then as soon as I go to sleep, I'm going to shut it down. I'm not going to use the sleep feature ever again, because it seems like it just does not like my CPU and the underclock settings that I have with this whole sleep function. It's caused me too much of a headache at this point. So, yeah, again, let me know what you think about it in the comment section down below. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.